2, 1.
Donald John Trump, the voice of one tweeting out in the wilderness, as President Covfefe's critics continue to wind up with egg on their face, and his own assertions keep asserting themselves in reality, it's time to ask, has anybody else noticed that Donald Trump has an eerie ability to predict the future? We will explain what that's all about. Then we will try to predict the future. In November in America, in Ireland, for the Catholic Church, a lot of predictions going on. Prognostication will abound. Finally, some very good news on the culture front. We'll get into that later. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. We have got so much to get to today. We're going to talk about President Nostradonald and his bizarre ability to predict the future. It is actually pretty eerie, but I think I have a theory on why that is the case. We will watch clips going all the way back to the Comedy Central roast of Donald Trump back in 2011. Nobody plays these clips, but they're quite prescient, actually. Before we do that, I know what you're wondering. How do I get such a lovely shave? How do I just get such smooth, soft skin like a baby's bottom? Dollar Shave Club. Dollar Shave Club is so good. It is the best razor I've ever used. I love it. I can't stop talking about it. It delivers everything you need to look, feel, and smell your best. I've talked about these guys for a long time. Dollar Shave Club has everything you need to get ready in the bathroom. The razor, first of all, is fabulous, but they'll give you Dr. Carver's shave butter, and it's not like, they have that foamy stuff that's like too much, or they have that little gel that's like not for, real burly men. The Dr. Carver's shave butter are so good, and they have everything you need. They have shampoo, they have conditioner, body wash, toothpaste, hair gel, and they have that thing. It's really useful. It's very important. In Europe, they have something called a bidet. So when you're using the facilities and taking care of yourself, everything gets clean. Well, what they offer is something called a one-wipe Charlie's. I'll let you envision what that is. Very effective. Here is a great way to save to try a bunch of Dollar Shave Club products right now and save a bunch of money. Don't say I never did nothing for you. I got my wedding coming up. I'm giving you a wedding present. For just $5, you can get their Daily Essentials starter set. It comes with the body cleanser, One Wipe Charlie's, the world-famous shave butter, and the best razor that they offer, the 6-blade Executive. It's the best razor I've ever used. Keep the blades coming for a few bucks more a month. Add in shampoo, toothpaste, anything else that you need in the bathroom. Don't have to worry about going down to the drugstore or what I usually do, letting the blades rust over for 6 months, and then I'm basically just using pure rust to shave my face. Don't be that guy. Let Dollar Shave Club make it easy. Check it all out. DollarShaveClub.com/Covfefe, COVFEFE. DollarShaveClub.com/Covfefe. Predicting the future, it's been on my mind a lot recently. I'm about to head out to New York. I'm going to be there getting ready for my wedding. I've got my bachelor party coming up this weekend. So if you don't see me next week or any other time in the future, I'm sorry. I had too much fun at my bachelor party. Not a bad way to go out. But I'm thinking about the future a lot. And have you noticed this? I have actually noticed this over the past 9 months. Donald Trump has this weird ability to predict the future, or at least it seems like he's predicting the future. And it's much more pronounced because all of his opponents have a total lack of ability to predict the future. In fact, all of their predictions do not come true. They make these totally insane predictions. We're certain it's definitely going to happen. Trump can't win, 99% sure. And then none of them come true. And what Trump says, which we all say is crazy at the time, that seems to happen. Here's just a little reminder from Nancy Pelosi.
At this news conference and on the floor, Democrats talk about this bill often in very apocalyptic terms, but isn't really what's going on is that many people are getting a very modest tax cut and some people are getting a tax increase while a lot of this is also going to business, but it's not the end of the world?
No, it is the end of the world. The debate on healthcare is life-death. This is Armageddon. This is a very big deal.
No, this is Armageddon. It is the end of the world. I don't want to. So that was Nancy Pelosi. And okay, so now we've lived through it. Because the trouble with predictions, this happens in political predictions and in sports predictions, is these guys, they go on TV, Nancy Pelosi gets up there in front of the cameras, and they make their predictions, and then they don't come true, and then we keep listening to them for some reason. So Nancy Pelosi says this is Armageddon, and yet we still listen to her. We still believe her. We still give her the floor. And it isn't just Nancy Pelosi. Paul Krugman predicted that the markets would plunge if Trump won the election. He said the markets are going to plunge. What happened? Trump won the election. The markets rose. Why do we do? We even handle this in sports. In sports, they say this could never happen. Then it happens, and we keep listening to them the next day. There was a Bloomberg headline from 2016. The headline was Citigroup says a Trump victory in November could cause a global recession. What happened? Not only was there not a global recession, but the global economy rose. In fact, the IMF gave credit to Donald Trump for that jump in the global economy. Okay, we still read Bloomberg, though. We still listen to Citigroup. Politico predicted, quote, Wall Street is set up for a major crash if Donald Trump shocks the world on Election Day and wins the White House. Major crash, huh? Just didn't happen. And they weren't set up for a major crash because the markets rose. Mitt Romney. So it's not just these crazy lefties. It's Mitt Romney, who's at least nominally a Republican. I know he invented Obamacare, and he spends most of his time criticizing the effective conservative Republican president. But, he's nominally at least a Republican. He said Donald Trump's domestic policies would lead to recession. What's happened? We've had one of the greatest bull market runs in history. That happened last year. None of the experts predicted it, but that's exactly what happened. $6 trillion worth of wealth created, particularly for the 55 million Americans with 401k plans, the other 25 million Americans who have IRAs, 20 million who have company pensions, stock ownership plans, and for virtually everybody else because of tax reform. So even if you're not among the many, many, many millions of people who have some stake in the market, first of all, you do because you're in the economy, but also because of tax reform, everybody is rising. The median household income rose pretty significantly within the last year. That's the median household income, just reported very recently. We were told by Donald Trump's economists and by Donald Trump himself, we won't see 3% economic growth anymore. Those are the old days. Now we have the new normal. It can't happen. What happened under Donald Trump? We saw greater than 3% economic growth. And it isn't just on these election predictions. Donald Trump came out and said that MS-13, they're animals, that awful gang that kills children and rapes people. Their motto is something like kill, rape, control. So maybe there's some other permutation of those three, but that's their motto, right? They said, those guys are animals. And the left said, they're not animals, they're people, how dare you? They start defending MS-13. Not 1 week later, an MS-13 member named Animal is sentenced to 40 years in a federal prison for murdering a 15-year-old boy. This seems a little weird, doesn't it? You see, the whole thing is about Animal, and then not a week later, the guy's name is Animal. That's his street name, and he goes to prison for 40 years. You saw this. Donald Trump was talking about during the campaign, the building the border wall and all those awful criminals coming over from the Mexican side of the U.S. border. And they said, what are you talking about? There's no crime. And then the Katie Steinle incident erupted right after that. He seems to just be able to predict one step ahead, see exactly what's happening right in the future. In 2013, Donald Trump tweeted out, quote, Weiner is gone, Spitzer is gone. Next will be lightweight Attorney General Eric Schneiderman. Is he a crook? He's worse than Spitzer or Weiner. So he tweets that, and I don't know, people say, what's Schneiderman? Who cares? What are we worried about Schneiderman? Just 5 years later, this happened a couple weeks ago, Eric Schneiderman was forced to resign within hours after allegations came out from multiple women that he abused them sexually in the throes of sex. He got drunk and was battering them and hitting them. This is a guy, he was a full-throated Me Too supporter, right? Nobody could have expected, who could have predicted this wonderful feminist, this great Democrat politician in New York was actually beating women against their will when he got a little too drunk in New York. Who predicted it? Donald Trump did. How on earth does President Covfefe, the voice of one tweeting in the wilderness, how does he predict all of these things? Go back even further. Don't even worry about 2013. 1987, Donald Trump took out a full-page ad in the New York Times. It said, there's nothing wrong with America's foreign defense policy that a little backbone can't cure. Now, it seemed like he was taking a shot at the Reagan administration here, and you got to say, we did win the Cold War, so I don't know if that is exactly the best way to read that, but the statement taken on its own is true. There's nothing wrong with a little with America's foreign policy that a little backbone can't cure. And we look around and we see that in action. He did this to Iran. He did this to Korea. And experts have lost their minds. When he said to North Korea, little rocket man is short and fat, and I've got a button on my desk with nuclear weapons and mine works. When he said that, the experts lost their mind. They said, he's belligerent, he's bellicose, he's going to throw us into World War III. If he rips up the Iran deal, we're going to go into World War III. It's certain to happen. I have a PhD and I wear a tie and my glasses are horn-rimmed. You have to believe me. It's going to cause the end of the world. Here you just see a little bit from what the mainstream media said when he did all of those things.
Corker screaming at the top of his lungs that we are at risk of World War III.
The most important political news of the weekend and today also happens to be the most important news in the world because it's about nothing less than World War III. And this news doesn't come from some conspiracy theory website. This news comes from the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Republican Senator Bob Corker. Senator Corker shocked Washington yesterday by saying what virtually everyone in Washington was thinking, which is always the best way to shock Washington, by saying something that everyone is thinking, but not saying.
I don't even know where to begin with how wrong that is. But just to begin, just first, nobody in Washington has ever thought anything without saying it. The most dangerous place on planet Earth is between Washington politicians and a TV camera. None of them are having these grand thoughts and not saying them. They're craven, they're crass, and they're publicity hounds. So that's to begin. Most people in D.C. say things without thinking at all. That does happen. People will say things without thinking about them. They won't think things without saying them. But everybody's thinking this. Everybody's saying it. Just take Lawrence O'Donnell on his own points. Everybody's saying that we're going to have World War III. Everybody's thinking it. All of the smart people, all the people in ties who have really strong jaws and comb their hair the right way, and they wear ties on camera. And they go on TV sometimes. They're all saying it, so it has to be true, except that they're all wrong. Except it turned out they're all wrong. We will get to even more of this in 1 second. Before that, though, this ties in beautifully, actually, because sometimes we need to get advice. We need to get advice from people who actually know what they're talking about. Not people who pretend to know what they're talking about, people who actually know what they're talking about. When you're dealing with a real head scratcher, having your go-to person on call is a no-brainer. This is especially true of business. That's why I've got to tell you about Software Advice, a new sponsor. The fact that they're a new sponsor is just enough that you should go help them out right now. Softwareadvice.com/Knowles, Knowles. Go over there and they will help you out right now. This is a great opportunity, especially if you run a business, if you have a small business. When it comes to picking the right software for your business, Software Advice has done all of the research for you. Their team of advisors can point you in the right direction. You can start working more effectively right away. I've seen this. I've been involved in many small businesses. And when you get started, you think, there's so many different software clients I can use. Should I do this or this? What's better about this? What should I do this? I've got to set up my team. I've got to get them working. I'm wasting time. Time is money. I'm going to spend 2 months researching this or that. No, forget it. Forget it. These guys make it so simple. They make it ready for you. You're going to save time. You're going to save money. Go to softwareadvice.com/Knowles, Knowles. Answer a few short questions about your business. You'll be connected with an advisor to discuss the best software options for your needs. Talking to an advisor takes 10 minutes or less. Whether you're a medical professional or a construction worker or you're an HR pro or any other kind of business, you name it, Software Advice will save you time and help you make a more informed decision. End the software struggle today. Go to softwareadvice.com/Knowles to get started. Get started right now. Softwareadvice.com/Knowles. Talk to an advisor for free. It's my wedding. I keep giving things away. Softwareadvice.com/Knowles. Okay. So all those guys, unfortunately, those people didn't talk to Software Advice. They didn't talk to anybody who had good advice. They just consulted their own empty brains, they're just rattling around in their heads. So they got that wrong. How about, let's pull it back forward to 2018. Just this Russia investigation, all of the nonsense and the lies and the fake news and the bad predictions. How many times have you turned into the news? You've tuned in and they've said, this is it for Trump. Now we got him. Now we got him. Michael Flynn had lunch. He had borscht for lunch. So now we got Trump. You know, Stormy Daniels, a porn star, a currently working porn star who has admitted to lying publicly in official documents and has been a Democrat operative for years and tried to run for the Senate as a Democrat and is an acknowledged and admitted public liar. Stormy Daniels says something, they got Trump, they got him. Now they've got him now, and then they never have Trump. Do you notice that? They always say that we're going to get him, and then it never happens, does it? On all of this, it seems that Donald Trump has been right the whole time. Donald Trump has been right the whole time. Obama and his bureaucratic cronies have been caught lying multiple times. Donald Trump said that Barack Obama wiretapped his campaign. And I'd like to, so he said, we've been wiretapped. When he tweeted it, he used quotation marks, wiretapped. The importance of this is that it shows, as Donald Trump usually does when he speaks, he can speak using metonyms or synecdoche or many literary devices that perhaps he's unaware he's using. But he even used that phrase because I don't think Donald Trump was alleging that Barack Obama personally went into Trump Tower and installed a little device on his actual telephone, right? Nobody thinks that that's what Donald Trump was saying. But all of the people who want to prove Trump wrong, even though Trump was right, they say, well, he didn't wiretap him. I said, right. Well, Donald Trump also said Obama did it. Does anyone think Donald Trump actually alleged Barack Obama broke into Trump Tower? No. He's speaking metaphorically and using metonyms. And the Obama administration did surveil his campaign. They didn't just surveil some aides, although they did surveil aides, but they surveilled the head of his campaign, the chairman of his campaign. This is what we heard when this came out. This is from the FBI. Quote, with respect to the president's tweets about alleged wiretapping directed at him by the prior administration, I have no information that supports those tweets, and we have looked carefully inside the FBI. The Department of Justice has asked me to share with you that the answer is the same for the Department of Justice and all its components. The department has no information that supports those tweets. That's what we heard, right? Except that's not true. We later learned that Barack Obama's administration was directly surveilling the Trump campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, and likely picked up the calls of the president himself. How about now, because the big story in the news is the deep state gunning for Trump. And what does this mean? Does this mean that there's some guy with a mustache twirling his mustache around sitting at the FBI, some regular agent who's doing his job and just trying to protect the country? Of course not. That's not what that means. But what it does mean is there is bureaucratic creep here. There is political creep. We know that Barack Obama weaponized the federal government and the bureaucracy to attack his political opponents. I'm a member of an organization that was the victim of this. So is it really so crazy to suggest that there was a White House influence on the FBI in these investigations? As a matter of fact, we know from the leaked Peter Strzok texts that the White House was running the investigation, right? That was one. Now, even if that's contradicted later, we have that coming out, that the White House is influencing these investigations. We went through the timeline a bit yesterday. The Wall Street Journal lays it out very well. The FBI claims that they didn't open up the probe into Donald Trump and Russia collusion or whatever until July 31st, 2016. Now, that was the claim, and Donald Trump came out and he said, BS, I don't believe it. All the smart people said, you have to believe the FBI. Come on, you have to believe the FBI. You can't believe Donald Trump. He's a crazy guy. So then the New York Times reports on Friday, the FBI's top secret informant, Stephen Halper, met with Donald Trump aide Carter Page only after a July 31st launch of the probe. See, it keeps the FBI's timeline. See, it keeps the Obama administration timeline. The Washington Post went further in their flacking. They said, nah, Halper and Page didn't meet until August 31st, until early September. They didn't know well into that probe. Now, Carter Page says something different. Carter Page says that he met with the FBI informant Halper in mid-July, early to mid-July. And we know this actually happened because it occurred at a very public symposium at Cambridge University in the UK. Page further says that he was invited to that symposium at the end of May or early June. Okay, now I know this is one reason, by the way, why people aren't talking about this too extensively on the news, is it's kind of hard to wrap your head around. There are so many moving parts. When you get into nefarious politics, that's what happens. But Halper, the FBI informant, was a central figure in that symposium that Carter Page was invited to. The symposium was titled 2016's Race to Change the World. Another central figure at that symposium was Sir Richard Dearlove, who spent 4 decades working for British intelligence MI6. He was the chief of MI6 from 1999 to 2004. So we've got an FBI informant who worked for the federal government and for the intelligence agencies for decades. We then have a British intelligence agent who'd worked for decades. That means that Dearlove, by the way, worked with Christopher Steele, who ran the Russia desk for MI6 and compiled the famous dossier that was funded by Hillary Clinton and by the Democrats. Whoa, that's a lot of coincidences. So they all coincidentally, they all invited this Trump campaign aide to the symposium before the Russia probe allegedly began into Donald Trump. And it's just a coincidence, probably, right? It's just look, sometimes decades-long intelligence officers for multiple countries, sometimes they just invite members of political campaigns whom they're surveilling to academic conferences, who knows? And then coincidentally, 2 months later, they start surveilling them, right? That's just what happens. I don't know about that. Now, does this mean for sure that Barack Obama was sitting there saying, we're going to spy on Trump, we're going to kill him, we're going to kill him? No, doesn't mean that for sure. We don't want to jump the gun. We want to be serious here. Does it mean we should investigate? Yeah, I think we probably should investigate. I think that's probably a good idea. Because now the left is denying it. And Scott Adams summed it up perfectly. He had a great tweet on all of this. He tweeted out, quote, 4 things to understand about Spygate. That's what they're calling it. Number 1, there was no spy in the Trump campaign. Number 2, the spying that did not happen was totally justified. Number 3, it would be bad for national security to identify the spy who doesn't exist. Number 4, the spy's name is Stefan. That way, I don't know, some of those seem to. Sure, that's basically the argument from the left now. It's really hard to believe. We'll see where that investigation goes. I will just say, though, all the people who go on TV with the ties and with the sharp, with my glasses, basically, they're just Rachel Maddow. They go on and they give the expert opinion. They've been wrong the whole time. Not only have they been wrong, we know that they've lied publicly. We know that they've lied on the record. We know that people from the administration, the Obama administration, have lied. Donald Trump has a pretty good track record here. I don't know. I don't know which side I'd lean toward. If I were a gambling man, which I am, and I have the check from Ben to prove it, I don't know. I'd probably put my bets on President Covfefe. And this will get back. So we have to answer this question. Why is it that Donald Trump, a gigantic reality TV star, casino real estate mogul, wins the presidency on his first try? How did that guy, why is he a prophet? How come that guy can predict the future, but all of the experts with PhDs can't predict the future? It all goes back, well, it goes back further than this, but it certainly goes back to the 2011 Comedy Central roast of Donald Trump. This is sort of a long clip, but it's really important, and people haven't dug this one up in a while. This thing is so rich with clues as to why Trump has succeeded in politics. Here it is.
I speak of the atrocities that we as a nation must endure, like the Jersey Shore. A piece of advice, my greasy friend. You don't need to put all of that product in your hair. You just don't. Look how great my hair looks, and I don't use anything, and it looks very good. What's the difference between a wet raccoon and Donald J. Trump's hair? A wet raccoon doesn't have $7 billion in the bank. Very funny. Okay, very funny. America is going through tough times, and we all need to laugh. True. I know that better days are ahead. If we believe in ourselves, and the way I believe in myself, and I really do believe in myself, then come June, if I decide to run, you'll have the great pleasure of voting for the man that will easily go down as the greatest president in the history of the United States. Me, Donald John Trump. God bless America and good night. Good night.
There is so much there. This was not in 2015 even. This was not before this recent run. This was in 2011. This is in because he was considering running in 2012, and I actually just remembered this. He said in some interview, it might have been as part of this roast, he said at the time, he said, you know, if I choose to run for president, I'm going to do a lot better than all you people think I'm going to do. And we all laughed at him at the time. They thought President Donald Trump, that was a joke, right? It was a joke in movies. People joked about it as a punchline. And there's so much here. There's so much political skill, and that's, I think, why he seems like he can predict the future. He's having fun. He's joking around with the celebrities who are on the dais. There are a lot of celebrities on the dais. There's Snoop Dogg, the Family guy, Seth MacFarlane, Lisa Lampanelli, a ton of people, the Jersey Shore guy, Mike the Situation. And he's there and he's joking around. And they're joking around with him because in those days it was okay to joke around with Donald Trump. It wasn't, now you're not allowed to if you're a Hollywood celebrity. Now you have to pretend you hate him. But, until 5 minutes ago, all of Hollywood loved this guy. He was a king of Hollywood. So he goes out there. He had some good lines. He had a line about Snoop Dogg. He said Snoop Dogg is a do-rags to riches story. He had a line about Lisa Lampanelli. She's a comedian the whole joke about her is that she's not the most svelte lass in the world, she's not terribly thin. And so people make fat jokes about her. And she loved it. She's laughing, clapping, that was all nice. He's making jokes about the other people, how they're basic cable hacks, talentless people, and he's this big star. Also true in some ways about certain people up there. But what we see here is he jokes about himself easily. He jokes about, people say that he can't joke about himself. Donald Trump can't take a joke. That isn't true at all. They say Donald Trump is a narcissist, like Barack Obama's a narcissist. No way. No way. I mean, does Donald Trump have an ego? Yeah, Trump has an ego. I don't think anybody's denying that. But is he a narcissist? No. And here's the difference. An egotist, hard charging, puts his name on buildings, says his name a lot, gets it out there, pushes back, won't take the hits. He's going to punch right. If he takes a joke, he's going to give that joke right back. What the narcissist does is he takes it so personally. With Donald Trump, I don't think it's personal. I don't think he goes home and cries and he says, "Oh, he didn't like me," or he gets really angry and says, "I'm going to get him back." Oh, no, I don't think it's that at all. I think he has a great ability to compartmentalize, to abstract himself from situations, and that's why he has some pretty cold thinking. Because it can't be both, right? He can't be coldly strategic and this angry narcissist. Barack Obama seems like a narcissist. I mean, he wrote 2 books about his favorite subject by the time he was in his 20s or something like that. Or I think the second memoir came out in his 30s. There is a certain narcissism there. The difference, I suppose, is that Donald Trump writes his own press releases and Barack Obama believes his own press releases. And those are 2 different things. You can even see it. You see it in the way that Donald Trump talks. So he leans into the money thing. He's always talking about how much money he has. The difference is the hair, the wet raccoon or whatever he says isn't worth $7 billion. But he pushes you past the sale when he talks. He says, if I run, you will have the pleasure of voting for the greatest president in the history of the United States. And what he does, this is another thing Scott Adams has mentioned, though not on this particular point, just the category. Donald Trump pushes you past the sale. So instead of saying, "I'm going to win the presidency," okay, if he said that, you say, "No, you won't." But he says, not only will I be the president, I will be the greatest president, not just in the recent years. I will be the greatest president in the history of the country. Not only that, you will have pleasure voting for me. It will be a pleasure to vote for me. And the reason you do this, it's the same reason Trump talks about the wall and he says Mexico is going to pay for the wall. He says it not because Mexico is going to pay for the wall. Who cares if Mexico pays for the wall? It's not that expensive. What he's doing is he's establishing in your mind that the wall will be built. The wall is going to be built, and so that's not up for debate. All that's up for debate is who's going to pay for it. I will be the president. That's not up for debate. All that's up for debate is, will I be the greatest president in American history or just the greatest president in the last 20 years or something, right? That's what he's pushing. I will be the president. The only question is, Are you going to have pleasure voting for me or great pleasure voting for me, right? He does this. It's really a strong tactic of his. And by the way, he did better at this roast than most of the other performers because he's funnier, because he's more in the culture. The other guys were funny. I don't mean to denigrate them. I don't want to be a hack here. They are funny people. Seth MacFarlane's a very funny guy. Snoop Dogg actually was pretty funny. Mike the Situation wasn't, no, it's not his strong suit, but a lot of them were funny. But Trump was better. Why? Because people relate to Trump. And because Trump knows people. He talks about this. He said, one of the secrets to my success is I really know people. I'm a people person. So I think here we have the answer to our question. Can Trump actually predict the future? Is he plugged in to, the cosmos and the natural order of the universe? I don't know about that. But why does it seem like he can predict the future? It's because he can put his finger on the pulse of the culture. He knows people. He talks to people. He's not isolated. He doesn't live in a little bubble in D.C. He doesn't just go to lunches at the Brookings Institution and talk about how sad it is that people don't hold their champagne glass in the right way anymore. It's why he's a good salesman. I mean, he's the greatest salesman in the modern era. He is all sales, right? He sells everything. He sold real estate, and he made incredible deals on real estate in New York, basically by just tricking the media. It's great in that book I just read by Conrad Black, Lord Conrad Black, Donald J. Trump, a president like no other. We had him on the show this week or last week. He talks about how when he put the Commodore deal together, he just did it by sheer tyranny of will. He knows people. He knew how the city would react to this, how this company would react to this, how the media would react to this, and he just put it all together and he did it. He's totally in the culture, so he can shape the culture. This is why Andrew Breitbart was right. If he's in the culture, if Donald Trump is in the culture, it means Donald Trump is in the present. Most people are living in the past. Most people are fighting the last war, especially in politics. People who are living in the past think people who are living in the present are seeing the future. Most people are fighting the Mitt Romney campaign. By the way, now people are fighting the 2016 race. They're trying to fight the 2016 race in 2020. 2020 is going to be different. And you're going to see this all over again. You're going to see it's going to look like Donald Trump's predicting the future again. And it's not because he's predicting the future. It's because he's living in the present. I've got to say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube. We have a ton more to get to. You cannot miss it. Very important points. Look, I'm going to be gone for a week on my honeymoon, so I got to give you all the good covfefe now. Otherwise, Ben is going to just depress everybody, and he's going to say, like, things aren't that great. He doesn't snort nearly as much covfefe as I do. So you're going to want, at least you'll have Klavan to say that everything is tickety-boo. But we got to get all that covfefe out right now. If you're on dailywire.com, thank you. You help us keep the lights on. You keep covfefe in my cup, and I'm going to bring this cup to the beach on my honeymoon, and I'll probably get arrested for that. But I need it, because you're not allowed to drink open containers of covfefe on the beach. That's not allowed. It's against the law. You got to put it in the appropriate FDA-approved vessel for leftist tears. So what do you get? It's $10 a month, $100 for an annual membership. You get me. You get the Andrew Klavan Show. You get the Ben Shapiro Show. You get to ask questions in the mailbag. Ask questions in the conversation. You should get your questions in for this final, no, not final. I'll have one more before my wedding, but penultimate pre-wedding mailbag. I'm probably going to be asking you questions. That's what I really need. You will get this, because none of that other stuff matters. This matters, the leftist tears tumbler, because every time Nostradonald predicts the future, every time our great prophet, the one tweeting out in the wilderness, predicts the future, the tears are going to flow. And you're going to need this vessel. Go to dailywire.com. We'll be right back.